During her CEO's prenup violation case, my wife's pregnancy became the focal point when DNA evidence surfaced alongside her testimony. Be me, Jack Thompson, 28 years old, married to Olivia, living in Boston. Things were perfect until that day. Just another Tuesday morning, unloading groceries in the kitchen, muttering about inflation and ridiculous prices. Olivia isn't home yet. Not unusual these days, though. She's been testifying in her boss Thomas's divorce case. Says court schedules are unpredictable. Everything seemed normal until I spotted a fancy envelope sitting on the counter, addressed to Olivia, return address from some law firm I've never heard of. I'm not usually the type to snoop. At least I wasn't before all this. Something feels wrong, though. Olivia's been acting weird lately, dodging my questions about work, avoiding conversations about her testimony, always finding excuses to change the subject. Wouldn't have touched that envelope if she hadn't been acting so strange. Tell myself this as I slide my finger under the flap. Guilt churning in my stomach. What falls out makes my blood run cold. It's a court summons. Not just any summons, though. This one details Olivia's involvement in Thomas's divorce. Mentions something about an affair? Language is all formal and vague. But the implication hits like a punch to the gut. Thomas's wife is accusing him of cheating. And Olivia's name is right there, listed as both witness and possibly more. Sink into a chair. Room starts spinning. This has to be some kind of mistake. Olivia would never do this. She's not that type of person. But why didn't she tell me about any of this? Why is her name mixed up in something so humiliating? Don't have much time to think. Hear the door click open. Olivia walks in. She's holding a bag of Chinese takeout. Smiles when she sees me. But her smile fades instantly. The moment she spots the envelope in my hand. You open my mail? She asks. Her voice sharper than I've ever heard it before. Stand up slowly, holding the paper like it's a weapon. What the hell is this, Olivia? Why is your name in Thomas's divorce case? And why didn't you tell me about any of this? Her reaction is immediate. Drops the takeout bag on the counter. Her face hardens into something I barely recognize. That's private, she snaps. Snatches the papers from my hand. You had no right to open that. No right? I echo, incredulous. You're my wife. I think I have every right to know why your name is tied to an affair in a court case. Olivia doesn't flinch. If anything, she looks annoyed. I told you I'm testifying. Thomas's ex is just dragging my name into it to make him look bad. It's nothing. Nothing? My voice rises. This doesn't look like nothing, Olivia. Why didn't you tell me about this? Why didn't you warn me that your name might be tied to something like this? She rolls her eyes. A gesture so dismissive it feels like a slap to the face. Because I knew you'd overreact like you're doing now. Overreact? My mind reels. This isn't about a broken vase or a late credit card payment. This is my wife's name being dragged into another man's messy divorce. With implications that are impossible to ignore, I'm not overreacting, I say, struggling to keep my voice steady. I'm asking for an explanation. A real one. You're pregnant with our child, Olivia. I deserve to know if there's something I should be worried about. Her face softens for a moment, but it's not relief that follows. It's something colder, more calculated. You don't have to worry about anything, she says. Her tone syrupy sweet. Makes my stomach churn. Thomas is my boss. That's it? This is just part of the fallout from his divorce. Don't you trust me? The question hangs in the air like a dagger. Want to say yes. Want to believe her. Let her convince me this is all some horrible misunderstanding. But the way she deflects my questions, the way she avoids eye contact, how she twists the blame back on me, none of it sits right. Trust goes both ways, I say finally. And right now I don't feel like you're giving me the whole truth. Olivia doesn't respond, just grabs the takeout bag, walks past me into the living room, leaving me standing there, knot in my chest, 1,000 questions swirling in my head. That night I lie awake in bed, listening to Olivia's steady breathing beside me. Tell myself I'm imagining things. Must be paranoia, or hormones, or stress. There has to be an explanation, one that doesn't end with my wife betraying me. But deep down I know, this is just the beginning. Next morning, Olivia acts like everything's fine. Kisses me on the cheek before heading to work. Her smile too bright, her movements too deliberate. Stand by the window. Watch her drive off in her silver Honda. Pit forming in my stomach. Want to believe her. But my gut won't let me. Something isn't right. Spend an hour pacing around the house. Can't sit with this doubt anymore. Need answers, not excuses. Call up Chris, my best friend since college. Chris isn't just good for venting. He works in IT. If anyone can help me dig into what Olivia isn't telling me, it's him. You sure about this, man? Chris asks. After I explain everything, once you go looking, you can't unsee what you find. hesitate for a moment. Part of me wants to drop it, cling to the idea that Olivia is innocent, that this is all just a big misunderstanding, but then remember the envelope. Her reaction, the way she avoided my questions, like they were landmines. I need to know, I say firmly. Chris sighs heavily. Okay, I'll help, but be ready for whatever's on the other side. He walks me through the process, how to check Olivia's phone and email backups, without actually touching her devices, feels wrong. Like I'm the one betraying her, but push the guilt aside. If she's keeping secrets, don't I have a right to know? That afternoon, while Olivia's still at work, sit down at my laptop, pull up her cloud account. Not hard to access. She's used the same password for years. Her birthday plus our anniversary. At first don't see anything unusual, just normal stream of texts and emails. Most of them boring or work-related. Then notice a folder in her email, marked personal. Not like Olivia to separate things like that. Curious, I click on it. That's when I see them. The emails are brief, but unmistakable. Messages from Thomas. Can't stop thinking about last night. You're incredible. Meeting again tomorrow, usual spot. I can still taste you. My hands start shaking, mind racing to make sense of what I'm seeing. It's not just the words, it's the dates. These messages are recent, overlapping with her pregnancy, and all those nights she said she was working late. First reaction is pure disbelief. This can't be happening. Not Olivia, not the woman I trusted with my life, not the mother of my unborn child. But the evidence is right there, in black and white, staring back at me like a loaded gun. Can't breathe. Chest feels like it's being crushed under the weight of betrayal. My wife, my pregnant wife, sneaking around with her boss, lying to my face. While I planned our future together, want to smash something, want to yell, want to demand answers right now, but force myself to stay calm. Need more than just a few emails. If I'm going to confront her, next move isn't one I'm proud of. Download every single message, forward them all to myself, creating a trail she can't deny, then comb through everything. Her calendar, her texts, even her call logs, piecing together the story of her betrayal. Like a detective working a case. It all fits together now. The late nights, the sudden need to help Thomas through his divorce, even her testimony in court. She isn't just trying to make him look good. She's protecting him, covering up their affair, so his ex can't use it against him. By the time Olivia comes home that evening, I'm a wreck. Don't say anything. Can't say anything. She walks in, kisses me on the cheek, like nothing's wrong, starts unpacking groceries from Whole Foods. Hey, she says, glancing over her shoulder. What do you want for dinner? Her voice is so casual, so normal. Makes me want to scream, clench my fists. Try to keep my emotions in check. Whatever's easy, I mumble. Avoiding her gaze, she doesn't notice my tone. Or maybe she does, and chooses to ignore it. Either way, I can't hold it in much longer. No, I can't confront her yet. Not until I have a plan. But with every passing minute, the weight of what I discovered presses down on me harder, threatening to break me. This isn't just a crack in our marriage. This is a bombshell, and I have no idea how to survive the fallout. Don't have to wait long for the next twist. 2 days later, Olivia tells me she needs to attend another day of testimony for Thomas's divorce case. Watch her face carefully as she says this. She's unusually flustered, words coming out rushed, her movements frantic. As she packs her brown leather bag, barely meets my eyes, mutters something about lawyers, how they're dragging everything out. Already seen enough in her emails to know she's lying again, but keep my expression neutral. Just nod slowly, pretending to buy her excuse. Good luck, I say. As she heads out the door, trying not to choke on the words, the moment her car disappears down the street. Grab my jacket and car keys. Not going to sit at home this time. Not letting my mind spiral into worst-case scenarios. Going to follow her. Park my car a block away from the courthouse, on Maple Street. And wait, sure enough, a few minutes later, Olivia arrives. She isn't alone. Thomas is with her, his hand on the small of her back. As they walk up the courthouse steps together, my grip on the steering wheel tightens until my knuckles turn white. Follow them inside. Slip into the back of the courtroom. Stay unnoticed. Olivia's already seated at the witness stand, her expression tense but composed, as Thomas's lawyer begins questioning her. Don't know what I expected to hear. Maybe something that would confirm what I'd already pieced together, but what comes next blows everything wide open. The lawyer's tone is smooth, almost too casual. Mrs. Thompson, he begins, addressing Olivia. Can you please describe the nature of your relationship with Mr. Thomas Parker? Olivia hesitates, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. He's my boss, she says, voice steady but quieter than usual. We've worked together for 3 years, and during those 3 years, have you ever spent time with Mr. Parker outside of work? The lawyer presses. Lean forward in my seat, every muscle in my body on edge. Olivia looks uncomfortable now, her gaze darting to Thomas, who's sitting a few feet away. Yes, she admits finally. We've attended work events and dinners. Dinners? The lawyer repeats, his tone sharpening. Were these dinners strictly professional? Olivia's jaw tightens. For a moment, thinks she won't answer. Yes, they were professional, she says. Liar. Thomas's wife's attorney stands up, his expression cold and calculating. Your Honor, he begins. Addressing the judge, we have evidence to suggest otherwise. If I may present Exhibit D, the lawyer hands a folder to the judge. Judge flips through its contents, nods slowly. Proceed, the judge says. The lawyer turns back to Olivia. Mrs. Thompson, would you care to explain these photographs? My heart drops. Attorney places a series of glossy images on a projector for the whole room to see. First photo shows Olivia and Thomas in a dimly lit steakhouse, seated close together, her hand on his arm, both of them smiling, laughing even. Next image is worse, the two of them standing outside what looks like the Riverside Hotel. Thomas's hand on her waist as he leans in close, his lips brushing her ear. Feel like all the air has been sucked from the room. My ears are ringing. For a moment, think I might be sick. The courtroom fills with hushed murmurs. Olivia's face goes pale. She opens her mouth to speak, but no words come out. Mrs. Thompson, the lawyer continues, his voice like a blade. Do you still maintain that your relationship with Mr. Parker was strictly professional? Olivia looks at Thomas, her eyes pleading. He avoids her gaze, staring straight ahead like she isn't even there. She falters, her composure slipping for the first time. I don't see how this is relevant to the case. Oh, it's very relevant, the lawyer shoots back. Your testimony was presented to support Mr. Parker's character, yet these photographs suggest a clear conflict of interest. Were you or were you not involved in an extramarital relationship with Mr. Parker? The question hangs in the air like a bomb. Hold my breath, waiting for her response. Olivia's voice barely audible. We had a personal connection, she admits. But it wasn't. That's enough, the judge cuts in, his tone stern. Mrs. Thompson, please step down. As Olivia leaves the stand, her face flushed with humiliation, she finally catches sight of me, sitting at the back of the courtroom. Her eyes widen. For a moment, she freezes, like a deer caught in headlights. Don't move. Don't say a word. Just stare at her, letting the weight of my presence sink in. She knows I heard everything. The ride home is going to be unforgettable. Courtroom empties slowly, buzz of murmurs hanging in the air like static. Olivia keeps her distance from me, her eyes flicking nervously toward Thomas, who's busy arguing with his lawyer. She glances at me once, then quickly looks away, her face pale as a ghost. Don't follow her right away. Need a moment to breathe, to process what I just witnessed. My wife, the woman I'd built my life with, the mother of my unborn child, just admitted in a room full of strangers that she had a personal connection with her boss. The photographs weren't just damning, they were humiliating. Leave the courtroom in a haze, pulse pounding in my ears. When I step outside, Olivia is already at the car, standing awkwardly by the passenger door, like she doesn't know whether to wait or run. Approach her slowly, my footsteps deliberate on the concrete. Get in, I say, my voice cold as winter. Jack, she starts. Cut her off with a sharp glare. Get in the car, Olivia. She hesitates for a moment, then opens the door, slides into the passenger seat. Get in on the driver's side. Grip the wheel so tight, my knuckles turn white. The air inside the car is suffocating, thick with tension and the weight of unspoken words. Don't start the engine right away. Instead, turn to her, my jaw clenched tight. You want to explain what the hell? That was back there? Olivia looks down at her hands, twisting her wedding ring nervously. It's not what it looks like, she mumbles. I laugh, a bitter, humorless sound. Not what it looks like, Olivia? They had photographs. You admitted to a personal connection with Thomas in open court. Do you really think you can spin this? Her head shoots up, her eyes flashing with something, between anger and desperation. It wasn't an affair, she snaps. I told you, Thomas's wife is trying to destroy him. She's using me to make him look bad. Stare at her, my disbelief evident. So those dinners? Those nights at the hotel? Those were what? Business meetings? Friendly chats? It wasn't like that, she says, her voice rising. We were just talking. He needed someone to vent to, someone he could trust. His wife was... Slam my hand against the dashboard, cutting her off. Don't you dare try to make this about him, Olivia! This is about you. About how you lied to me? How you hid this from me? While I sat at home like an idiot, trusting you? Her lip quivers. For a moment, thinks she might cry. But instead of breaking down, she crosses her arms and glares at me. You're blowing this out of proportion, she says coolly. Blowing this out of proportion? My voice louder now, shaking with anger. My pregnant wife is sneaking around with her boss, lying to my face, and humiliating me in court? And I'm the one overreacting? Are you kidding me right now? She flinches at the word pregnant. Her hand instinctively moves to her stomach. For a split second, see a flicker of guilt in her eyes, but it vanishes as quickly as it came. Fine, she says. Her tone icy cold. You want the truth? Thomas and I got close. Maybe too close. But it wasn't physical. I was just lonely, okay? You're always so busy, so wrapped up in your own world. Thomas noticed me, listened to me. That's all it was. Her words hit me like a slap. Lonely, I repeat, my voice dripping with disbelief. I work my ass off to provide for this family, for the baby we're supposed to be bringing into this world, and you repay me by cozying up to your boss? Olivia rolls her eyes. The gesture so dismissive makes my blood boil. You don't get it, she mutters. No, I don't, I shoot back. Because I would never do this to you. I would never lie to you, humiliate you, betray you like this. So no, Olivia, I don't get it. For a moment, the car is silent, except for the sound of our ragged breathing. Can see her struggling to come up with something to say, some way to turn this around. Look, she says finally, her tone softer, almost pleading. I made a mistake, okay? I shouldn't have let it get this far. But I didn't cheat on you. I swear. Stare at her, searching her face for any sign of sincerity, any shred of the woman I thought I knew. But all I see is someone who had been caught and was scrambling to save herself. Do you even realize what you've done? I ask quietly, my voice trembling with restrained fury. You put everything we've built at risk. Our marriage, our future, this baby. And for what? For some personal connection with your boss? Her eyes flicker with something, shame maybe, or defiance. I didn't mean for it to happen, she whispers. But it did, I say coldly. And now we have to deal with the consequences. Turn the key in the ignition. Car roars to life. Rest of the drive home is silent. Air between us heavy, with tension and unspoken words. As I pull into the driveway, turn to her one last time. You'd better think long and hard about what you're going to say, Olivia, because this conversation isn't over. Not by a long shot. She doesn't respond, just gets out of the car, walks into the house, leaving me sitting there, staring at the empty passenger seat, wondering how the hell my life had come to this. The house is quiet when I walk in, but it isn't the peaceful kind of quiet. It's the kind that presses on your chest, heavy and suffocating. Olivia has retreated to the bedroom, leaving the door slightly ajar. But I don't follow her. Not yet. Need space to think, or maybe need to feel like I still have some control over the situation. My head is pounding, thoughts spiraling. As I pace the living room, her words in the car echo in my ears. It wasn't physical. I was just lonely. Want to believe her. I really did. But the photographs in court, the emails I'd found, they painted a different picture. And then I remember the hotel. In one of the photos, Olivia and Thomas, standing outside, close enough to make my skin crawl. Hadn't thought much of it at the time. Too overwhelmed by the flood of evidence, but now the image burns in my mind. If I could figure out when that photo was taken, might be able to confirm whether she was telling the truth or if this was just another layer of lies. Grab my laptop, pull up the emails I'd forwarded to myself. Doesn't take long to find. A message that lines up with the date on the court exhibits. Meeting tomorrow at the usual place. 7:30? Can't wait to see you. Timestamp is from 3 weeks ago, on a night Olivia claimed. She was working late. My chest tightens. As I check her calendar for that week, sure enough, she'd blocked off the evening with a vague entry. Work dinner with Thomas. Take a deep breath, trying to calm the storm inside me. If she was lying about the hotel, need to know for sure. Against my better judgment, call the hotel. Good evening, this is the Riverside Hotel. How may I assist you? The receptionist says cheerfully. Hi, I say, trying to keep my voice steady. I need to confirm a reservation. From a few weeks ago, could you check if a Thomas Parker booked a room on October 8th? There's a pause. Hold my breath. 1 moment, sir, she says. Can hear her typing in the background. Yes, we do have a record of that reservation, she says finally. He checked in on October 8th and checked out the following morning. Would you like any additional information? Swallow hard, my pulse racing. Yes. Was there anyone else listed on the reservation? Another pause. No, the reservation was under Mr. Parker's name only. But there were 2 keycards issued. 2 keycards. My hand tightens around the phone. Thank you, I manage. Before hanging up, stare at the screen, my mind racing. 2 keycards doesn't prove she'd stayed with him. But combined with everything else, it was enough to send my doubts spiraling into certainty. Olivia had lied to me about the hotel, about the work dinners, about everything. I'm done giving her the benefit of the doubt. With my heart pounding, stand and walk to the bedroom. Olivia's sitting on the edge of our bed, her phone in her hand. But she's not scrolling, just staring at the screen, like it holds answers to questions she can't figure out how to ask. Olivia, I say, my voice sharp enough to make her jump. She looks up, face pale. Jack, I don't. Snap and hold up my hand. Don't say another word until I'm done. Her mouth clamps shut. Can see the fear in her eyes. Good. I called the hotel, I say. Each word deliberate. The Riverside. October 8th. They confirmed Thomas booked a room. They also confirmed 2 keycards were issued. Her eyes widen. For a moment, she looks like she might faint. But then, to my surprise, she stands up and crosses her arms, her expression hardening. So what, she says. Defiant. You think I stayed there with him? Step closer, my jaw clenched. I know you did, Olivia. Stop lying to me. Just stop. Her lip trembles. But she doesn't break. You have no proof, she says. Her voice shaking. You're jumping to conclusions, based on some photos and emails. I told you nothing happened. Then explain the 2 keycards, I challenge, my voice rising. Explain the texts, the pictures. Explain why your name is in his divorce case. Because right now it looks like you've been screwing around behind my back. While I've been here trusting you, planning our future, her face twists, a mix of anger and panic. You don't understand, she spits. Thomas needed me. His wife was tearing him apart, and I was the only one who could help him keep it together. He was falling apart, Jack. And you thought what? I shot back. That it was your job to fix him? To play therapist? My voice cracks. Can't even bring myself to finish the sentence. She takes a step toward me, her voice softening. Jack, please. It wasn't like that. I made a mistake, okay? I let things get too close. But I didn't cross the line. I swear to you, I didn't. Shake my head. The words cutting me like knives. You've crossed every line, Olivia. You've lied to me, betrayed me, and now you're standing here, still trying to spin this. Like you're the victim? Tears fill her eyes, but I don't care. Turn and walk out of the bedroom, slam the door behind me. For the first time in my life, not sure if there's anything left to save. Sit in the living room, staring blankly at the TV screen, though I'm not watching. My mind races, replaying every moment, every excuse Olivia had given me. Over the past few months, each one feels like another piece of a puzzle I hadn't wanted to complete. Until now, the hotel, the emails, the photographs, it all lines up. She had cheated. Maybe she hadn't admitted it in those exact words, but her deflection and half-truths were worse than a confession. She had chosen to lie, to insult my intelligence, and to trample on the trust we'd spent years building. Hear the bedroom door creak open. Olivia's soft footsteps approach. Clench my jaw, bracing myself for another round of her excuses. She stands in the doorway, face pale and tear-stained, but her eyes are steady, determined. Jack, she begins, her voice trembling. We need to talk. Don't look at her. I'm not interested in more lies, Olivia. She flinches, but doesn't back down. I'm telling you the truth, she says. Stepping closer? Whether you believe me or not, I need you to listen. Turn to face her, my anger barely contained. Fine, I say coldly. Talk. She sits on the armchair across from me, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. For a moment doesn't speak, her eyes fixed on the cream-colored carpet, then takes a deep breath. Thomas and I, she pauses, as if choosing her words carefully. We got too close. I won't deny that. But it wasn't physical, Jack. I never... Don't, I interrupt. My voice sharp. Don't sit there and insult me. I've seen the pictures, Olivia. I've read the emails. You're going to tell me that wasn't physical? That you didn't sneak off to that hotel with him? Her eyes fill with tears, but her jaw tightens. I went to the hotel, she admits. But not for what you think. Thomas needed someone to talk to. He was in a dark place, and I didn't want to abandon him. You didn't want to abandon him? I echo, my voice rising. What about me, Olivia? What about our marriage? Our child? You didn't think about abandoning us? She blinks, the tears spilling over. I know I messed up, she chokes out. I was selfish. I didn't think about how it would affect you, and I hate myself for it. But I didn't cross that line, Jack. I swear to you, I didn't. Her words hang in the air, but they do nothing to soothe the anger boiling inside me. You crossed every line that mattered, I say quietly. Maybe you didn't sleep with him, but you betrayed me just the same. You chose to give him the part of you. That should have been mine. She starts to speak, but hold up my hand to stop her. Do you even understand what you've done? You've made me question everything. Every moment we've shared, every promise we've made. How am I supposed to trust you after this? Olivia's face crumples. She buries her head in her hands, sobbing. For a moment, feel a pang of guilt. But push it aside. I'm not the one who broke us. I'm sorry, she chokes out between sobs. I'm so sorry, Jack. I don't know how to fix this, but I'll do anything. Please just tell me what to do. Her desperation should have moved me, should have made me want to try. But all I feel is a hollow ache, like something vital had been ripped out and replaced with a void. I don't know if there's anything left to fix, I say finally. Her head shoots up, her tear-stained face etched with panic. Don't say that, she pleads. Please, we can work through this. For the baby, for us. Don't bring the baby into this, I snap, my voice sharper than intended. You don't get to use our child. As a band-aid for what you've done, she flinches at my words. For a moment, neither of us speaks. The silence stretches between us, heavy and suffocating. I need time, I say finally. My voice flat. Time to think. Time to figure out. If I can even look at you, without seeing him, her eyes widen. She reaches for me, but I stand before she can touch me. Jack, please. Shake my head. Cutting her off. I'm done talking tonight, Olivia. You can stay in the bedroom. I'll take the couch. Her face crumples, but she doesn't argue. As I walk past her toward the living room, feel her eyes on my back. But don't turn around. That night as I lay on the couch, staring at the ceiling, the weight of her betrayal presses down on me. No matter how much she cries, no matter how much she apologizes, can't shake the feeling that something between us has shattered, and I'm not sure it can ever be repaired. The days that followed were a strange kind of torture. Olivia tried to act normal, but her efforts only made the cracks in our marriage more glaring. She'd make coffee in the morning, linger by the kitchen door, like she wanted to talk, then retreat when she saw the cold wall I'd built around myself. Couldn't bring myself to forgive her, or even pretend to. Every time I looked at her, saw Thomas's hand on her back. Outside that hotel, saw the way she'd lied to me. In the car, in the courtroom, and for God knows how long before that. By the fourth day, the silence between us is unbearable. Olivia's in the living room, folding baby clothes she'd ordered weeks ago. I'm at the dining table, staring blankly at my laptop. Not really working. Haven't been able to focus on anything since the courtroom. Then her phone buzzes. It's subtle, just a vibration on the coffee table, but Olivia freezes mid-fold. Her reaction is instant. Too instant. She drops the tiny yellow onesie she was holding, reaches for the phone, like it's a grenade about to go off. Watch her, my heart pounding. Who's that? I ask. My voice cutting through the tension. Like a blade. She hesitates, her back to me. It's no one, she says. Her tone too casual. No one? I repeat. Standing up. Let me see. Her grip tightens on the phone. For a moment she doesn't move, then turns to face me, her expression hard and defiant. You don't need to see my phone, Jack. We've already been over this. Step closer, my blood boiling. Give me the phone, Olivia. Now. No, she says firmly, holding it against her chest. I've told you everything. You don't get to keep punishing me by invading my privacy. Privacy? I laugh bitterly. That's rich coming from you. You've been lying to me for months, sneaking around with Thomas, and now you're worried about privacy? What are you hiding? I'm not hiding anything, she snaps, her voice shaking. I don't want you reading into something that isn't there. Her words only make me angrier. Lunge for the phone. She steps back, holding it out of reach. Stop it, Jack, she shouts. Stop lying, I roar. the sound of my own voice shocking even me. The baby clothes tumble to the floor as we stare at each other, the room buzzing with tension. For a moment thinks she might finally break, that she might hand over the phone and come clean. But then she does something unexpected. She unlocks the screen and shoves the phone into my hands. "Fine," she spats. "Go ahead. Read it. Look at everything. If it makes you feel better." Stare at her. Then at the phone. Her sudden compliance throws me off, but not about to back down. Open her messages. Scroll to the latest notification. It's from Thomas. "Can we talk? I need to see you." My stomach churns. Turn the phone toward her. "Explain this." Olivia's face pales, but she holds her ground. "He's been struggling with the divorce," she says, her voice trembling. "He's reaching out because he doesn't have anyone else. That's all." Clench my jaw, my fingers tightening around the phone. "And you think that's appropriate? After everything that's happened? You're still in contact with him?" "He's my boss, Jack," she says defensively. "I can't just cut him off completely. It's complicated." "No," I say coldly. "It's not." "You had a choice, Olivia, and you're still choosing him over me." Her mouth opens, but no words come out. The silence is deafening. A confirmation louder than anything. She could have said, "Throw the phone onto the couch," the screen lighting up, with another message from Thomas. As it lands, don't bother reading it. My decision is made. "I'm done," I say. My voice flat. "I can't do this anymore." Her eyes widen. She takes a step toward me. "Jack, wait, please." Hold up my hand, stopping her. "No more excuses. No more lies. I've tried to understand, to give you a chance to fix this, but you've made it clear where your priorities are. You want Thomas? Fine. You can have him. But I'm not going to stick around and let you humiliate me any longer." Tears stream down her face, but I don't care. Turn and walk toward the door, grabbing my keys off the counter. "Where are you going?" she calls after me, her voice breaking. "Anywhere but here," I say, without looking back. As I step outside and slam the door behind me, a strange sense of clarity washes over me. Don't know where I'm headed, but for the first time in weeks, feel like I can breathe. It isn't over yet, not by a long shot, but at least now, I'm taking the first step toward taking back control of my life. Don't have a destination in mind? When I leave the house, just drive. The hum of the engine barely audible, over the storm raging in my head. Pass familiar streets and landmarks, without really seeing them. My grip on the steering wheel, tight enough to make my hands ache. After an hour of aimless driving, pull into the parking lot of a small diner on the edge of town, called Maple Grove Diner. Not a place I'd been to before, but it looks quiet. Exactly what I need. Slide into a booth near the window, order a black coffee, stare out at the empty parking lot, trying to make sense of the chaos Olivia had brought into my life. The words we'd exchanged replay in my mind, each one a fresh wound. Her excuses, her defiance, the audacity to keep defending Thomas, even after everything, makes my blood boil. But beneath the anger is something worse, the gnawing ache of betrayal, the sickening realization that the life we built was crumbling under my feet. Halfway through my coffee, when my phone buzzes, ignore it at first, assuming it's Olivia. But when it buzzes again, curiosity gets the better of me. Pull it out, glance at the screen. It isn't Olivia, it's Chris. Hesitate before answering. "Hey," I say, my voice flat. "Jack," Chris says, his tone serious. "Where are you?" "I just heard something, and I think you need to know about it." "What now?" I mutter. Bracing myself for more bad news, I ran into someone at the gym. "Who knows Thomas?" Chris says quickly. Apparently he's been bragging about how he's got someone on the side, even with the divorce going on. He didn't say any names. But Jack, it lines up with everything you've told me. The guy said Thomas has been bragging about it, like it's some kind of game. My grip on the phone tightens, the coffee in my stomach, threatening to come back up. Don't need Chris to spell it out. Olivia was Thomas's someone on the side. "Thanks for letting me know," I say, my voice strained. "Jack, what are you going to do?" Chris asks. "I don't know yet," I admit. "But I can't just let this slide." "Do you need me to come over?" he offers. "No," I say firmly. "I need to handle this myself." After hanging up, sit there for a moment, staring at the phone in my hand. Chris's words confirmed what I already suspected, but hearing it said aloud made it feel real in a way I wasn't ready for. About to head back to the house when the door to the diner swings open, and to my shock, Thomas walks in. He doesn't notice me at first, strolls to the counter, orders a coffee, leans casually against it, scrolling through his phone. Like he doesn't have a care in the world. My hands clench into fists. As I watch him, my anger bubbling over. Without thinking, stand and walk straight toward him. Thomas, I say, my voice low but sharp. He looks up, startled. For a moment, confusion flashes across his face. But then recognition dawns, and he smirks. Jack, he says smoothly. Didn't expect to see you here? The casual tone in his voice makes me want to knock that smug look right off his face. We need to talk, I say. Through gritted teeth, Thomas raises an eyebrow. About what? About Olivia, I snap. His smirk falters for a second, but he recovers quickly. Look, man, he says. I don't know what you think is going on. Don't, I interrupt. My voice rising. Don't stand there and lie to me. I know what's been happening. I've seen the emails, the texts, the photos. I know everything. Thomas's expression shifts, the smugness giving way to something colder. If you know everything, he says slowly, then why are you talking to me and not your wife? The audacity of his response makes my blood boil. Because you're just as much to blame for this mess as she is, I growl. You've been dragging her into your garbage fire of a life, while I've been at home, trying to build a future for my family. Thomas sets his coffee down, his expression hardening. Look, I didn't force her to do anything, he says coolly. If she made choices you don't like, that's on her. Step closer, my fists clenched. You think this is some kind of game, don't you? I say, my voice shaking with rage. You've been bragging about her, treating her like a trophy, while tearing my life apart. Well, let me tell you something, Thomas. You don't win this. For a moment, Thomas just stares at me, his face unreadable. Then he smirks again. That infuriating smug grin. That makes me see red. Whatever you need to tell yourself, man, he says. But maybe you should ask yourself why she came to me in the first place. I didn't even realize I'd swung at him until my fist connected with his jaw, sending him stumbling back against the counter. The diner goes silent, all eyes on us, as Thomas straightens, touching his jaw with a grimace. Feel better, he says, his tone mocking, despite the pain in his voice. No, I say, breathing heavily, but it's a start. Turn and walk out of the diner, ignoring the stares of other patrons and the shouts of the waitress behind the counter. Get into my car and drive away, my knuckles throbbing, and my head spinning. One thing is clear, this isn't over. Not by a long shot. By the time I get home, my adrenaline has worn off, leaving behind a simmering mix of exhaustion and rage. My fist aches, but it isn't the physical pain that gnaws at me. It's the raw, unrelenting humiliation. Thomas's words replay in my head like a taunt. Maybe you should ask yourself why she came to me in the first place. Park in the driveway. Sit there for a moment, staring at the faint glow of the living room light filtering through the curtains. Olivia is waiting inside. She always is these days, probably pacing and rehearsing. Whatever excuse or apology she thinks will make me stay. But this time, I'm not walking in blind. Grab my phone, pull up the email folder I downloaded from Olivia's account, scroll past the messages I'd already seen, past the incriminating dinner invites and veiled compliments, until I hit something new. An attachment. It's a hotel receipt. Open it, my chest tightening. As I read the details, the date matches, the night she was photographed, outside the Riverside Hotel. It isn't Thomas's name on the receipt, it's hers. And there, listed under additional requests, were 2 meals ordered to the room. Feel sick? All her denials. All her claims that nothing happened. This receipt was the final nail in the coffin. Shove the phone in my pocket. Head inside. The screen door slams behind me. Olivia is on the couch, her arms wrapped tightly around herself. She looks up when she sees me, her eyes red and swollen. But I don't let myself feel anything. You're late, she says softly, her voice tentative. I was worried. Don't! I snap. Cutting her off? Don't play the concerned wife now. We need to talk. She swallows hard and nods. Okay. Sit down across from her, keeping the coffee table between us like a barricade. I ran into Thomas tonight, I say flatly. Her eyes widen, her lips part, but she doesn't say anything. And he made it very clear that you're not telling me the whole story, so I'm going to ask you one more time, Olivia. Tell me the truth. All of it. Her hands tremble as she clasps them together. For a moment, think she might finally come clean, but then she shakes her head, her voice breaking. Jack, I already told you everything. Enough. I slam my hand down on the table, making her jump. I've seen the emails, the photos, the texts, and now this. Pull out my phone, shove it toward her. The hotel receipt glaring on the screen. Her face goes pale. Where did you get that? She whispers. Doesn't matter, I say coldly. What matters is the truth. You stayed at that hotel with him, didn't you? You lied to me over and over, and now you're caught. So stop insulting my intelligence. And admit it. She stares at the screen, her lips trembling. It wasn't what you think, she mumbles. Her voice barely audible. Then what was it? I demand. Explain it to me, Olivia. Make me understand why my pregnant wife was sneaking off to hotels with her boss. Her eyes fill with tears. For a moment, think she's going to deny it again, but then she breaks, her shoulders shaking. As she buries her face in her hands, I didn't mean for it to happen, she sobs. My stomach drops, the room spinning around me. So it did happen, I say quietly. My voice hollow. She nods, her words tumbling out. In a frantic, tear-soaked confession, it was one night, Jack. Just one stupid, horrible night. I didn't plan it. I swear I didn't. We were at dinner, and I had too much to drink. And he was going through so much. And I was... Stop, I say. Cutting her off, can't listen to anymore. She looks up at me, her eyes pleading. It didn't mean anything, she whispers. I don't love him, Jack. I love you. I made a mistake. But it didn't change how I feel about us. About our family. Stand up, unable to sit still any longer. A mistake, I say, my voice shaking with disbelief. You call betraying me a mistake? You've been lying to me for months, Olivia. Months. And now you want me to believe it was just one night? It was, she insists, standing and reaching for me. I swear to you, Jack. I'll do whatever it takes. To make this right. Please just give me a chance. Step back, her touch burning like acid. You don't get to ask me for chances, I say coldly. Not after what you've done. She breaks down then, sobbing uncontrollably. But I can't bring myself to comfort her. Can't bring myself to do anything, but stand there staring at the woman I thought I knew, wondering how I'd let it come to this. I need time, I say finally, my voice barely above a whisper. To think, to decide if we are even salvageable. Jack, she starts. But I turn and walk toward the door. As I step outside into the cool night air, feel the weight of her betrayal, pressing down on me like never before. Don't know if I can forgive her. Don't know if I even want to. All I know is that nothing will ever be the same. Spend the night at Chris's place, lying awake on his leather couch, staring at the ceiling. As the events of the day replay in my mind, Olivia's tearful confession haunts me. Her words, it was just one night, feel like a dagger twisting in my chest. One night, one betrayal, but it was enough to shatter everything we had built. Chris tries to talk to me, but I'm not in the mood, not ready to hear advice or encouragement, or even the simple truth that I'd eventually have to make a decision. For now, all I want is silence and distance from the life that had become unrecognizable. By morning, I've made up my mind. Not going to be strung along anymore. No more lies, no more half-truths, and no more apologies. That feel as hollow as I do. If Olivia wants me to even consider staying, she would have to lay it all on the table. Every detail, every choice, every piece of the puzzle she had been hiding. No more games. When I walk into the house, the air feels heavy, like it had absorbed all the tension. From the night before, Olivia's in the kitchen, sitting at the table, with a mug of chamomile tea cradled in her hands. Her face is pale, her eyes rimmed with red. She looks up when I enter, her lips parting as if to speak. But I hold up my hand. Don't, I say. Not yet. Sit down across from her, fix her with a stare. That makes her shift uncomfortably. This is how it's going to go, I say, my tone cold and measured. You're going to tell me everything. No more lies. No more deflections. No more excuses. If you want even the faintest chance of fixing this, I need the whole truth. She nods slowly, her hands trembling, as she sets the mug down. Okay, she whispers. Start from the beginning, I say. When did this start? How did it happen? Olivia takes a deep, shaky breath. It started about 6 months ago, she begins, her voice barely above a whisper. Thomas was going through the worst of his divorce, and I was helping him with some late-night projects at work. At first, it was just conversations. He was venting, and I was trying to be supportive. Supportive? I repeat bitterly. Is that what you call it? Her eyes flicker with shame, but she continues. It wasn't like that at first. I swear. But then he started opening up more, telling me things about his marriage, about how lonely he felt. And I guess I started to feel sorry for him. I felt like I was the only person who could help him. Clench my jaw, my anger bubbling beneath the surface. And when did it cross the line? Olivia hesitates, her eyes darting to the table. The night at the hotel, she admits. It was after one of those dinners. I didn't plan it. It just happened. I had too much to drink. And he kissed me, and I didn't stop him. You didn't stop him, I echo. My voice dripping with venom. You didn't stop him, but you had no problem. Lying to me about it for months. Tears spill down her cheeks. But I don't care. What about after that? I press. Did it happen again? No, she says quickly. Her voice trembling. I swear, Jack, it was just that one night. Afterward, I told him it was a mistake, and we agreed to keep things professional. Lean back in my chair, studying her. And you expect me to believe that? After all the dinners, the late nights, the texts and emails, you're telling me you had one slip-up and then decided to be professional? Why should I believe you? Because it's the truth, she says desperately. I know I screwed up, and I know I hurt you, but I'm telling you the truth now. I swear to you, Jack. Please, you have to believe me. Stare at her, my mind racing. Her words sound sincere, but sincerity is a luxury. I can't afford to trust anymore. I don't know if I can, I say finally. Her face crumples. She buries her head in her hands, sobbing. Jack, please, she begs. I'll do anything. Counseling? Therapy? Whatever you want. I'll quit my job if I have to. Just don't give up on us. Don't give up on our family. The mention of our baby hits me like a gut punch. As much as I want to walk away, can't ignore the fact that we're about to bring a child into this mess. Did I owe it to the baby to try, or was staying worse? For me, for the child, for all of us? Stand up, pushing the chair back. With a screech. I need time, I say. My voice heavy. Don't talk to me. Don't try to convince me. I need to figure this out. Olivia nods through her tears, her hands trembling. As I walk out of the room, the weight of her betrayal presses down on me like a stone. But so does the weight of the decision ahead. No matter what I chose, my life would never be the same. Spend the next 2 days in a kind of limbo, staying at Chris's place again, barely speaking to anyone. My phone buzzes constantly, with texts and calls from Olivia. Pleas for forgiveness, promises to do better, updates about her quitting her job. Ignore them all. Chris, ever the practical one, finally breaks the silence one evening. So what's your plan, man? You can't just avoid her forever. Sigh. Leaning back against the couch, I don't know. Part of me wants to stay, for the baby if nothing else. But another part of me, I don't think I'll ever trust her again. Chris nods, his expression serious. Trust isn't something you just snap back into place. If you stay, it's going to take a lot of work. And if you leave, well, that's a whole other kind of mess. Don't respond. I already know the stakes. What I don't know is how to move forward. That night as I lay awake, staring at Chris's living room ceiling, make a decision. I would go back, not to forgive her, but to demand something concrete, an act of accountability. That would prove whether she was truly willing to change. Next morning, walk into the house. Without warning, Olivia looks up from the kitchen table, where she's scribbling in a blue notebook. Her face lights up with hope, but it quickly fades. When she sees the look on my face, Jack, she says softly. Don't, I interrupt. Holding up my hand, I'm not here to talk about feelings or apologies. I'm here to see if you're serious about fixing this. She nods quickly, standing up. I'll do whatever it takes, Jack. I mean that. Step closer, folding my arms. Good. Then here's what I need you to do. Her eyes widen slightly, but she doesn't speak, waiting for me to continue. First, you're going to write a formal resignation letter to your company. I don't care if you've already said you're quitting. I want it in writing, with a copy sent to Thomas. Effective immediately, she nods, though her hands tremble. Okay, she says. I can do that. Second, I continue. You're going to block him. On your phone, on email, On social media. Everywhere! And I'm going to watch you do it. Her lips part. For a moment, she looks like she might argue, but then she nods again. Okay, she says quietly. And third, I say, my voice hard, you're going to give me full access to your accounts, email, phone, everything. No more secrets. If you want me to believe you, you're going to have to prove you've got nothing left to hide. She swallows hard, her eyes brimming with tears. I understand, she says. If that's what it takes, I'll do it. Study her face, looking for any sign of resistance or deceit, but all I see is exhaustion and remorse. Good, I say finally. Because this is your last chance, Olivia. If I catch one more lie, one more excuse, I'm done. Do you understand me? She nods, her tears spilling over. I understand, she whispers. Then start with the resignation, I say, pointing to her notebook. Olivia sits down immediately, her hands shaking. As she begins writing the letter, I stand over her, watching as she puts pen to paper, her words deliberate and final. Once she's done, she hands it to me without a word. Read it, noting the clear language and immediate termination. Now, Thomas, I say. Handing her phone back, she hesitates for the briefest moment before unlocking the screen and pulling up his number. Watch as she blocks him, then goes to her email and social media accounts, removing him from every possible point of contact. When she's done, she looks up at me, her face pale but resolute. I'll keep doing whatever you need me to do, she says softly. I just want to fix this. Don't respond. Turn and walk toward the door. I'll mail this, I say, holding up the letter, and we'll see if you stick to your word. She nods, her tears falling silently. As I step outside, as I get into my car and drive away, feel no satisfaction, no relief, just a strange hollow kind of resolve. She played her hand. Now it's my turn to decide if I'm willing to take the risk of trusting her again. The sun is setting as I pull up to the post office, casting long shadows across the parking lot. Sit in my car for a long moment. The resignation letter feels heavy in my hand, like the weight of everything that's led us here. Everything that's still to come. Maybe this is just the beginning of a different kind of ending, or maybe it's the ending of everything we used to be. Either way, nothing will ever be the same again.